John Clayton, and you may wonder what I'm doing sitting here in this fire engine. But the fact of the matter is, I thought it would be interesting to find out what some of these various gadgets and windows and sort of dials here really are. And to explain that, we've got Captain Andy Alvera from the Los Angeles County Fire Department. Captain, good morning to you.
Good morning.
Could you point out to our viewers what some of these things are?
Well, when you drive down the street and you see this fire engine going by, these panels look very complicated, but they are actually very basic and simplistic in nature. The basic fire engine hasn't changed much since the beginning ones, many years, since the 50s. In theory, yes, but we have different gauges, we have digital stuff now. A lot of stuff's been added, foam. We have foam capabilities where we add soapy water to the fire hose so we can penetrate the fire easier and better.
But is it a lot more automatic today?
No, we still, like I said, it's very much like the beginning ones. We have an engineer, the guy who drives the fire engine. He's in charge of monitoring and running all this engineer panel, this pump panel. What we do is we get from the fire hydrant, you'll see, I'll show you later, in the back of the fire engine we have large hose, the big large, about that wide. When you see it in the back of the fire engine, that's what it is. That goes from the fire hydrant into what we call our intake here. So the water goes into the fire engine. We always have 500 gallons of water on the fire engine at all times. So
500 gallons?
500
Whoa!
gallons.
Where is that? Where is that?
It's right in the center, right about here. There's a big tank, and it holds 500 gallons. But obviously, on a big fire, we're going to need much more water. So the 500 will get us started, and it gives the engineer time to hook up the fire hydrant and get that operation going. But the water comes in here. We have a series of discharge gates. These are the levers that control these gates. And it goes in there, the pump increases the pressure, and they come out the discharge gate. So in theory, it's very simple. This regulates so we don't get too much pressure and we don't knock a fireman down or get someone hurt. And these gauges, what they're doing is they're telling the engineer how much pressure is going out that fire hose. So there's a lot of math involved, a lot of on the fly. They're always going, and it's very dynamic, but it actually just tells. So obviously, the longer the hose, the more friction loss, the more pressure needs to be on it. So he's doing all this math in his head real quick, and he's giving the appropriate pressure so the fireman can get it going. We have the engineer. He can plug in his headset when you guys are driving around and you see the fireman with those headphones on. We're talking in communication. Well, he has the ability to unplug it from the inside and bring it outside. So now he can hear, because this gets very noisy and it's hard to hear. So he can hear what the captain's calling for on the inside.
Is the captain then directing what's going on?
Yes, there's a few different jobs that we could be doing depending on whether you're first in, second in, depending where you're at. But yes.
In meaning what? In
on scene. So if you get to a fire and you're first there, we would call that first in. If you're the second or third fire engine in, that's when second, third in. So that's kind of fireman lingo, sorry. But he can communicate with the fire captain on the inside, and we can talk together and make sure we know exactly what each other are doing. But like I said, it looks very complicated, very simplistic in nature, but knowing your pressures and everything, that's what's difficult, and that's the engineer's job, and that's what they do.
I see you got all these hoses, and every fire engine, I'm sure, has lots of hoses on there. Do you know off the top of your head, I mean, have you got 500 feet of hose or what?
Well, in the back end, we have 800 feet of the 4-inch, the larger one. We have 800 feet of 2.5-inch. It's the medium-sized one in back. We have two 150-foot sections that we can carry on our arm and get into a house. We have a 300-foot section that we could, if it's a further, like an apartment or somewhere we need to get further back. And then we have another 300 feet of 2.5 on the side. So we have a lot of fire hose, and that's the yellow hose. We also have brush hose, because here on the peninsula we have wildland areas. So now we have to be able to get to those wildland fires as well. So now we have another 800 feet of wildland hose up top. And then you can look up top, there's this red hose. It's actually it's pre-plumbed hose line. So now we can just pull that off and it's ready to go. We don't have to flake all this hose out on the ground. We can just pull out 20 feet and have water.
When you arrive at a fire, does that specifically mean to you use a particular hose for that particular fire?
Yes, when we get on scene, that's the captain's job to decide what type of hose line we're going to be taking. Whether it's a 1 3/4, which is here above you. We have the 2.5 in back. Those are our two types of attack line, and we also have our reel line for a very small fire. We like to just say big hose, big fire, small hose.
And I guess the last question is, how many men or personnel are there on each fire engine?
Well, each fire it differs on what fire station you're at. Typically, there's three firefighters. You have a captain, an engineer, and a fireman. This particular engine that you're sitting on right now was what we call a strike team engine. This engine, when large fires happen throughout Southern California and actually all the way up north, they're able to take this engine and put them together with 4 others. So I have 5 fire engines and a battalion chief, and they can go all over. When they do that, we put 4 firemen on there. So now firefighters, and they can go all over the place. But it's a minimum of 4 when we do that. On the fire truck, which we have inside, we have 4 firefighters on that. At this particular station per day, we have 10 firefighters per day here at Fire Station 106.
When was this built?
I believe this station was built in the early 70s. I believe it was 1973.
And the fire engine?
This fire engine is a 2006 KME. It's a new fire engine. This is almost brand new.
Okay. Captain, based on past experience, what do you consider to be the most dangerous time of the year for fires?
Well, it depends what type of fires you're talking about. It seems during the winter season when things get cold, people tend to use their furnaces more. Non-approved type space heaters, that would be more of a danger time for home fires. We always promote smoke detectors in the home, and to check them when the time changes, change the battery out. It's huge, and we wish more people would do it. As far as outdoor fires, like the brush season, typically towards, I'd say June, July is when it starts, and it's actually kind of a progression. The season starts more in the desert area, and towards the later part of the season, October, November, it comes more towards like the Malibu, Palos Verdes area, where it'd be the most dangerous time of the year.